Welcome back to the Sandbar Playbook, everybody. It's time for my final power rankings. It's been a crazy year this season. Thank you so much for watching all my power rankings this year. We've had so many teams going way up, going way down. Teams that, like the Chiefs, not even making the playoffs. We had the Colts starting off amazing. Then Daniel Jones is injured and their season falls apart. We've had so many crazy storylines over the year. And at the end of this video, after I give my final power rankings, I'll be going through what teams made my top 10 the most times, what teams made my top 5 the most times, and what teams, there's only 3 of them, spoiler alert, made or wherever made it to my number 1 spot. So a little recap of the entire year of my power rankings. But for this week's power rankings and for my final power rankings of the season, we're going to go start off with a washed up first. Now, what you're going to see here, it's every team that is not in playoff contention anymore because these teams have no business even being ranked. They can't do anything. So my Browns are on there. Your team might be on there. Probably not if you're watching this video because if your team's out, you probably don't even want to watch power rankings anymore. But these are all the washed up teams. Let's get into the power rankings now, though, all right? Number 16, at the bottom, even though it's the middle of the league, at the bottom of my final power rankings, the Steelers, they probably would be higher than the bottom of my current power rankings. But with Metcalf out, this offense, I don't trust them to outscore the teams above them like consistently and in the moment, in the big moments to do that. The defense is not bad, but not the defense is going to carry that type of offense. So Steelers at the bottom of my final power ranking. Number 15 in my final power ranking. This was a tough one. I have the Buccaneers. Now, you're going to notice that they're under the Panthers, obviously. And I'm not picking the Panthers. I'm not picking anybody in that game. But the Panthers are, I think, the better team right now. It's hard to believe though that the Buccaneers, with all the pieces they have, all the weapons they have in offense, would lose to the Panthers and not make it to the playoffs this year. But they've put themselves in that position. Buccaneers at number 15. Number 14, like I was talking about, is the Panthers. Now, interestingly enough, even though they're 14, I would say the Panthers probably have the worst chance out of any team left to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But they do get the number 14 spot for me. And if they make the playoffs, that'll be one crazy story. And we'll see what they can do if they make it in. Number 13, beating out the Steelers is the Ravens. I do think Lamar will be back. He's questionable for the last game of the season versus Steelers, but I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to miss the last game to put the Ravens in the playoffs. There's been some crazy news coming out about Lamar. Maybe he's going to get traded. I'll definitely have to talk about that more, especially over the offseason. We'll see what happens. But at this moment, I don't think he's going to miss the last game of the season for this Ravens team. And even if he doesn't play, their offense looked pretty good. I don't think they're going to look like that all the time without him, but they did look pretty good last game. But I have the Ravens at number 13 because I do think Lamar will be back. Number 12, I have the Chargers. I mean, what can you say, right? Injuries. That's what the Chargers are. Number 12. Number 11, the Packers. This team also hurt immensely by injuries. I do think Jordan Love should be healthy. He's also questionable. I'm going to just err on the side of these teams being reasonably healthy since it is my final power rankings. So I'm going to keep in mind, I'm going to have in my mind that Jordan Love will be healthy, and I have the Packers at 11. Number 10, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're 12-4. I honestly want them to lose this game versus the Titans because I predicted them to go 12-5. I just want to be right about that. I hope they lose, but what a season for the Jaguars. Number 10. Number 9 is the Texans. I think a sleeper Super Bowl pick. When the offense is doing good, of course the defense might be the best in the league, so this team can beat anybody. And you saw those crazy two first touchdowns for the Texans, and then obviously their offense wasn't playing well after that. But yeah, if this offense can just do enough, this defense is really going to take them a long way. And yeah, maybe I mean they could definitely win the Super Bowl. So sleeper pick for the Super Bowl Texans. Number 8 though is the Eagles. I feel pretty good about my predictions about the Eagles before the season. I think that they're obviously one of the best teams. That's why I have them in my top 10. But I think you can see that the Eagles are not close to what they were last year at all. So, my final recap, I'm just going to say this team is a great team. This team can be any team, but this team is way off from the highs that they were at last year. Number 7, the team that just lost to the Eagles. They lost by 1 point, but I'm still going to have them above the Eagles. You know, the Bills have an off game, then they have a great game, then they have an off game. I think that was a little bit more of an off game for them. And I think if they played again right now, I'll take the Bills in that matchup. I have the Bills barely, just barely ahead of the Eagles at number 7. At number 6, of course, one of the best teams in the league, barely not making it into my top 10. It's the Seahawks. Number 5, I have the Broncos. Just don't. I haven't seen a game where I'm like, they just killed that team and they proved so much to me. I haven't seen it yet. Number 5 for the Broncos. Number 4 is the Bears. That loss against the 49ers proved so much more to me, good things about the Bears than so many games that the Broncos have won. So I liked to see that close game against the 49ers. This Bears team is definitely legit. Number 3 is the 49ers. I think the highest they've been all year, but they deserve it. Christian McCaffrey is going crazy. I'm very surprised that I have not heard more about him in the MVP conversations as of late. But yes, he is going off for them, and this team is looking great. They're fun to watch. I'm happy that they're doing this good, even with the injuries they've had all year. It's very cool to see. And maybe, you know, maybe some people want to see the 49ers play in San Francisco Super Bowl. So I wouldn't doubt them making the Super Bowl. Number 2, New England Patriots. I was close to moving this team up to number 1. And I'm also, what happened last week, thinking about my award, my MVP, and all my awards, and throughout the season. And that last game that Drake May had is making me think a little more, and it's making me think a little more about my number 1 team, the Rams and Matthew Stafford. That definitely hurt his MVP consideration. But I thought about moving the Rams down below the Patriots, but even after that game, right, it was still a close game, which they barely lost to the Falcons, we've seen that they can beat anybody in the league. And I don't think Matthew Stafford is going to have a game that bad the rest of the season, but he's definitely not playing as well as he was towards the beginning of the year. Of course, Devontae Adams should be back when it matters the most, but this Rams team does need to lock in a little bit because they're close to not even being my number 1, and I've had them here for so long, as you know. But that is my final top 10 to end out the 2025-2026 NFL regular season. Now let's go through a recap of my power rankings for the year. So these are the teams that were in my top 10 that made it in the most amount of times. Now, I did not do a power rankings every single week, so it's not going to be completely accurate to what I thought about every team. But at number 5, the tied for 5th most times made it into my top 10, the Patriots and the Ravens. So you got the Ravens, the team that was looked at so greatly to begin the year, and slowly, that reputation kind of went down. The Patriots were the opposite. It went up the other way. So, and they ended up being tied for the 5th place spot. Number 4, all by themselves, and now not close to my top 10. The Buccaneers, I thought for so long this team was a top 5 team for sure. And they were definitely in the mix, right? But this team has really fallen off, and it's crazy. Probably to do with Baker not being completely healthy. Number 4 is the Buccaneers, tied for 3 with the most times being in my top 10. The Seahawks and the Chiefs. The Seahawks, obviously one of the best teams in the league, and the Chiefs. If you watch me, I had so much belief in the Chiefs all year, even though they disappointed me, disappointed all their fans. I kept them in for so long. Even though they're already eliminated from the playoffs, they ended up being tied for the third most times being in my top 10 this season. Number 2 I had tied was the Eagles, Packers, and Lions. 3 great teams. Everyone knows are great, and everyone coming into the season thought they would be great. And they made it in to my Lions not great anymore. not making the playoffs, but I think you still say the Lions are a great team, right? Even though they didn't make the playoffs. But yeah, 3 just the teams that were pretty consensus top 10 teams almost all year. And number 1, the 2 teams tied that had the most top 10 spots all season, the Bills and the Rams. Now, going into my teams that were my top 5 the most amount of times, at number 5, tied once again, the Patriots and the Ravens once again. And also, I want to mention an interesting thing about my top 10, the Colts never made it in all season. I was surprised to see that myself when I was going through my top 10 lists and my power rankings, but the Colts never made it in. Back once again. Oh my god, my voice apparently because I didn't make a power rankings last week, my voice is just, it isn't like this. Back at number 4, all by themselves again, the Buccaneers, the 4th most top 5 spots. Number 3 is the Eagles by themselves. Number 2, the Bills and the Lions. And the 2 teams I had the most top 5 appearances in my power rankings, the Chiefs. Yep, the Chiefs. And the Rams. So the Rams, I feel great about that. But the Chiefs, yeah, it's just interesting thing to think about, that I had a team that didn't make the playoffs in my top 5 almost the whole season, and I'm not mad at myself for it, right? I really thought the Chiefs were better than the record, and I still think they are better than the record, but yeah, now they're out. And at the teams that made it to my number 1 spot at all this year, not the most, but even just made it at all, there's only 3 teams, like I said. At number 3, they made it 1 time to my number 1 spot towards the beginning of the year, the Eagles. And at number 2, you probably guessed it, they made it twice to my number 1 spot this year, the Chiefs. And at number 1, the Rams made it the most times to my number 1 spot. They made it to my number 1 spot 9 times, including this week. The Rams were just in control of my power rankings once the season, came a few weeks in, and they stayed there all the way through the end. Thank you so much for supporting the Sandbar Playbook. My name is Aidan Negizio. If you want to watch another video, you can click here. If you want to subscribe, you can click right here. So thank you so much. Make sure you comment what you thought, like, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.